Going to be cooking up some lamb chops today. Now what we're going to do with these lamb chops is get them Indian spiced, and then we're going to mix them with some couscous, and it just makes a really delicious dish. Now if you don't want to use the lamb, or you find it difficult to get, what you could use is chicken thighs or chicken breast with or without the skin. So it's quite a universal dish, but I'm going to use lamb chops. Now first of all, I'm just going to go through the spices. Now I've got 1 teaspoon of each of these. We've got ground turmeric, coriander, cumin, garam masala, and then I've got just under ½ teaspoon of salt. Then I've got 3 cloves of garlic, a couple of good sized onions, then we've got a courgette. Now you call that a zucchini, but courgette, 1 lemon. Now I'm actually going to use just half of that lemon. I'm going to use half the zest and half the juice of the lemon. Then I've got a roasted red pepper, beautiful flavour. Over here we've got some dried apricots, small handful of those. Coriander, fresh coriander, just for finishing it off later on. I've got ½ litre of chicken stock, but again, as you're using lamb, if you want you could use lamb stock, but I'm going to use chicken stock. Couscous, now I'm going to use half that bag, so I'm going to use 250 grams of couscous. And then I've got 6 lamb chops. But, you know, as I say, if you don't want to use lamb chops, you could use chicken thighs or chicken breasts, entirely up to you. So there's all the ingredients. Now, what I'm going to do is get it all prepared, and with the lamb, I'm going to mix half of those spices and the salt and get it all sort of nice and sort of rubbed in to the lamb chops. And then we're going to go over and start frying them up in the frying pan. So let's get it all prepared and get it ready. So we've got the lamb chops and the spices, and I've prepared everything else. Then what I'm going to do with these spices, I'm just going to kind of mix them up, and we're just going to use half of those to coat the lamb. So once you've got them nicely mixed up, I'm just going to move back the lamb, bring yourself a bowl into view, and as I say, I'm going to use about half of it. So put that in there like that. So with the spices, just sort of spread them out a little bit, and I'm going to start picking up the lamb chops and just really kind of get a little bit of a coating on there. Try and get a bit on each one. And then we're going to just rub it in, so we've got plenty of spice all rubbed into the meat. So I'm just going to sit here and really just kind of rub it nicely into the meat so it's all nicely covered. So I'll just carry on doing that. So now I've got all those spices mixed up onto the meat. Look, it's all nicely done, all rubbed in. I'm going to take that over to the hob, and we're going to get a frying pan, a little bit of oil, and we're going to start getting a little bit of colour on these lamb chops. So I've got my pan. Now I'm going to start off with some oil. I'm going to be using sunflower oil. So put a little bit in there, but not too much. That'll do. So I'm going to switch the pan on, and I'm going to put it roughly on about a medium heat. Let that heat up, and then we're going to put the lamb chops in. So the pan's just about heated up, so let's just get those lamb chops in there. It's going to be a bit of a squeeze, but I'm sure we'll get them all in. And what you want to do is just try and make sure you build up a little bit of colour on both sides, and also the fat on the outside as well. We're going to build a little bit of colour on there, so going to move them around just to, you know, get a nice colour all over. Now I've been cooking for about 4, nearly 5 minutes. Now let's just have a look to see how we're doing. So let's just turn one over. Look at that, getting a bit of colour on there, nice beautiful colour. So let's turn those all over. Look at that. I mean, obviously at this point, if you haven't got the colour, you might want to turn the heat up or just cook for a little bit longer. Yeah, they're looking good. So again, give it about the same amount of time, another 4, maybe 5 minutes on this side, and then we're just going to turn them on the fat and sort of get a bit of colour on there as well. Just going to give those a little bit of a push down, just to make sure they're all touching the bottom and the side of the pan. So again, I'll give them about 4 minutes on this side. Just going to grab them and just really kind of lay them up so we can get the fat, a nice colour on it. What you can do is just turn the heat up a little bit. We only want to give them sort of a minute or two on the fat. So in total, these are quite thick, remember. I would say about 9 or 10 minutes. Just squash that fat down so it's touching the bottom of the pan. It'll make it look beautiful. So I'm just going to remove those. Take them out of the pan. Look at that, beautiful colour. Got the fat, really nice looking colour. Because, you know, presentation is going to be half of this dish. Going to move that aside. Going to put a little bit of tin foil over there, just to keep them warm. Turn the heat down a little bit. Then I'm going to go straight in with the onions. Now all that colour at the bottom of the pan is just going to go onto the onions, and it smells absolutely wonderful in this kitchen at the moment. All those spices just giving it a beautiful smell. It's when your guests are going to be hungry. So just get that all coated. I'm just going to add just a tiny little bit more oil in there. Give it all a stir. Now really with the onions, you want to cook those until they've got a nice bit of colour. I would say for about 8 minutes or so. Now I've also got me courgettes, zucchinis. Put those in. We can probably also put in those roasted red peppers as well. I'm going to leave the garlic at this point because I don't want to burn that, so just give that all a stir around and let it sort of soften down, as I say, for about 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes at the most. So we've had this mixture in the pan, cooking for about 7 or 8 minutes. Just give it a quick toss around, and then I'm going to add chopped up garlic. Turn the heat down if it's a little bit too strong. Always play about with the heat. Yeah, just take that a little bit out. And then the last thing I'm going to add is the remainder of all those spices. Now we're only going to cook this now for 1 more minute. So give it a quick toss around, and then after this we can add the chicken stock. And now just going to add the chicken stock. And also, I've got those apricots, I sort of chopped them down a little bit. Now turn the heat up and just bring it up to the boil. That's it, now it's just come up to the boil. Just give it a final stir. And we're going to turn this down, right down to a simmer, so fairly low. And then we can add back all those beautiful pieces of lamb. They've got this really nice colour on. So kind of just squash them in really. And again, any of those juices that are left over, put those in, and we're going to pop a lid on that. And I would say you want to simmer it for about half an hour. So let's put the lid on. Now, as I say, I've got mine simmering away, so I want to leave it for about half an hour. If I just switch the light on, you can see it just gently bubbling away on a low heat, so that's a simmer. Leave that for about half an hour. After about half an hour, what you want to do is to take the meat out, put it on a plate, and then we're going to add the lemon juice, add the couscous, and that will make a beautiful couscous. And then obviously we can just put the meat back on top, present it, serve it up, and try some. So leave that simmering away for half an hour. So I've had the lamb cooking in the sauce for about half an hour, so let's just take the lid off. Oh, beautiful smells. Now I'm just going to take out all the pieces of lamb, and then we're just going to put a little bit of tin foil over the top just to keep that nice and warm. That's it. I'm going to put some tin foil over there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to get me lemon, half a lemon, give it a good squeeze of that. And I'm going to pour all my couscous in there. Give that a bit of a stir around. Just going to switch up the heat just for a little bit, just for like a minute really. I'll add a little bit more couscous. Make sure it's all nicely stirred. Now I'm going to turn it off the heat. Put the lid back on there and just leave that, and all that sort of liquid's going to get absorbed by the couscous. So I left my couscous for about 5 or 6 minutes. Just take the lid off there. Let's just have a look at that. Oh yeah. Just give that a quick stir up. Like that. Then I'm going to add in a little bit of that lemon zest. And again, just give it one more stir. Get it all nicely mixed. This is going to be beautiful. Now I'm then going to add those pieces of lamb back on top. So you get a large one in there. Those bits of juice. I'm going to take that over to the table, put a little bit of coriander on there, fresh coriander, and we're going to serve it out. Put that on the table there. Let's pull the lid open. Oh, that smells really, really good. All those Indian spices, absolutely beautiful. Let's put some fresh coriander on there. Now I'm just going to bring myself a plate and we're going to serve some up. So I'm just going to carefully serve that up. A little bit more couscous. Again, only because I like it. I'm just going to add a little bit more coriander again. And let's try some of that. Now I'm just going to, first of all, try some of this lamb. I'll just show you that. Nicely cooked. Quite nice and tender. And you can get those spices coming through. That is really good. Really delicious. It tastes as good as this kitchen smells. And again, let's try some of this couscous. Because couscous quite often is a little bit bland, but you know, done like this, it's really going to be tasty. There you go. That's a complete meal in one pot, and it's got lovely flavours in there. You've got the bit of onion, the red peppers, and there's a little bit of apricot in there somewhere. And try a bit more. You can't go wrong with this. And it looks beautiful because of the colour we got on it. So I hope you enjoy. And as I say, you can make this with chicken as well as lamb, whichever one you like. You just choose and up to you. But it's beautiful, and I thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. The original Naked Chef.